Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme and welcome to your favorite feel good series, The Best Relationships Come to Those Who Wait, Part 3. I'm so excited about this. I love recording these episodes. If you're tuning in for the first time to this series, these are stories from you, from the listeners, about meeting your significant other. I hate to say later in life because it's not later in life. Later in life is like in your 70s, but after 30, because we tend to turn 30 and we think that it's over, that our chance to find love is never going to happen. It's not going to happen the way we envisioned it. And we have to change our vision and we have to do this. But that's just not the case. You waited till you were through with your Saturn return, till you had your shit together. You healed whatever you were going through. You're doing better than ever and you love your life on your own. And now you're ready to share that life with someone. And I think there's something really beautiful about meeting someone after you're 30, even at 29. I think, anytime before then, you're still growing into who you are. And that doesn't mean I'm saying like anyone who meets younger than that or gets married younger than that is doomed. Absolutely not. I'm just speaking to the people who were themselves before they met their person. And I find that to be really special. And it's very much like what you see is what you get. You're not necessarily having like, oh my God, what if they, become this person? And of course, there's more life to live, and who knows, people can grow and change. But I find that it's a real sweet spot. And I think, hearing these stories really keeps the faith that you're gonna have the happy ending that you deserve, and you will. So I'm just gonna get right into it. Okay. Some of these have follow-ups, so just bear with me. Also, like every episode of these, I'm reading these for the first time. So hopefully no one sent like a prank email. Okay. Hi, longtime follower. I saw you were looking for success stories over 30. I live in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs and was 33 when I met my now husband. The biggest ongoing joke among both of our friend groups is that we dated the entire capital region. We both were on the dating apps. I would literally go on 3+ dates a week some weeks, and same with him. I met my husband on Hinge, and we both knew on the first date we were each other's person, despite being so jaded from the crazy amount of dates we had both been on. He literally thought he was never going to get married until he met me, and he totally changed his outlook. It just takes one person to change everything. We were engaged just over a year after meeting and got married just a little less than a year after that. We are so madly in love. My biggest advice to people 30 plus is just to have fun with it and don't take it so seriously. My therapist said I was her most positive patient regarding dating. I never got upset if I wasn't into them. Sometimes it would just end up being a hilarious story for my friends if it was a disaster date. Just have fun with it and go in with no expectations. Another funny side note, my now husband and I matched 3 separate times on Hinge before meeting. The first one, I was super judgmental when he told me his favorite bar was one that fuckboys hang out at, and I unmatched him. The second time was during COVID, and he didn't follow through with the date. I almost swiped left the third time, but something about him drew me in, and the third time was a charm. So I would tell people, let your guard down, don't be judgmental, and give guys a fair chance. They can surprise you. I also forgot to mention he was 35 when we met. I love, love, love this story. I love that it's not like I was on these apps and I just decided F it. And I went to the coffee shop and there he was. She was on the apps and she persisted. It's like, nevertheless, she persisted. But really, she did. And I remember when I was on the apps and there were guys that would come up all the time. They were like, the guy I always saw on the app who I knew was coming up because the algorithm was telling me that he had liked me and I was so not into him. And I remember this one specific guy, and I had just gone through a breakup and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to match with this guy because I always see him on the apps. And I ended up really being into him. He had such a great personality. He was also cute, but he wasn't like, for some reason, I didn't swipe initially. And he had such a great personality and we really vibed. And I was like, wow, I really could have missed out. I was like, and then it didn't end up working out for whatever reason, but it was honestly more like him not wanting it to work out than me, ironically, right? And I remember I was like, I could have missed out on this guy because I could have just never swiped. And if you're on the apps and you're swiping or you're sending likes or whatever, really ask yourself when you say no to someone, like, why? Right? What's the real reason? Is it simply because there was one picture where it looked like they were not as cute as the other picture? Like that's not a good enough reason. And I think with men specifically, if a man has a really good personality, that makes him 100 times hotter. And that's not conveyed on an app. Unfortunately, with the reverse, it doesn't work as well. Like if you have an amazing personality as a girl, but they're not physically attracted to you, I don't really know if it could work out. But with women dating men, I think we should give more men a chance who are not necessarily 6 feet on the app or whatever it is you're looking for. And this is a perfect story of that. Okay, next. Hi, Lindsay. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. Please see below for my story for the good things come to those who wait episode. There is definitely an element of invisible string in this as well. And by the way, I felt that there was invisible string in the last one too. Like they had matched, it didn't work out, this and that. I went through a bad breakup at age 28, but it gave me a lot of clarity on exactly what I wanted from a partner. At this point, I was the only single one out of all my friends, and there were definitely days where I felt hopeless about ever finding my person. About a year ago, age 29, I got a text from a boy I had gone to high school with. We were friendly in high school. We actually made out at a party after graduating from high school. And then we both went off to college and didn't speak for about 8 years. Fast forward to 2021. I used to listen to a podcast where they read fun facts at the end of every episode, and one time I decided to submit one. They read my fun fact on the podcast and read my name as the person who submitted it. And that day, I got a DM on Instagram from this boy saying, "Hey, this is so random, but I heard your fun fact on this podcast today," that he evidently also listened to. We DM'd back and forth a bit to catch up. I was living in New York City at the time, but was about to move back to Chicago, where I grew up, for grad school that summer, and that was where he lived too. I told him I was moving back, and he said we should grab a drink sometime, which I was up for, but it just never happened. Then, a few months into grad school, this is fall 2021, I posted a picture on Instagram of a few people in my grad program, and he DM'd me again saying he went to camp with one of the people in my picture, small world, etc. And again, we should grab a drink, but once again, it never materialized. Fast forward to a year ago, winter 2023. The same boy texted me out of the blue saying, "Hey, I saw your profile on Hinge and I thought I'd reach out. How are you doing?" We texted back and forth a bit and he asked me again to grab a drink, and this time the plan did materialize. We went on a date and it was immediately clear to both of us that there was something there. We have now been together for a year and are moving in together in a few months and are so in love. I am so sure he is my person. While he has been in my life tangentially since high school, I think I needed to wait until my late 20s to really be in this kind of relationship where it has all just been so easy and we have been so aligned. And it is because I know myself so well and I'm sure of what I was looking for. Good things truly do come to those who wait. And we both know this is right because we know ourselves and we're settled in every other aspect of our lives prior to getting together. I love this so much. And I have so many thoughts on this. This is totally an invisible string situation. I really think that, and like this is a grand statement. This is so generalized, so just bear with me here. I think if a man talks to you, he likes you. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think if a man is DMing you like over a period of time, and this isn't just like, a Casanova type of man who's doing this to everyone, he likes you. And it's interesting that those dates didn't materialize originally. And I wonder why. I also need to know what this podcast is with the fun facts. But I really do think that if a man talks to you, goes out of their way to talk to you, as from my experience, he likes you. And I actually do think that applies to men who are married, men who are this, men who are that. I think, again, like I'm just saying, if you're a single woman and a man talks to you. But honestly, if you're married too, but I think the point is like this guy always really liked this woman, and I'm so happy that it ended up working out for them. And I love her sentiment of having everything figured out and then finding her person, and I really do believe that. And I said that in the beginning. Okay, next up. I've loved the first two parts of this series, and I'm happy to share my own story. It may be a bit lengthy, but it's a story I think many will relate to. Oh, sorry, my contact. Sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. My contacts just fly out sometimes. Okay. In June of 2020, my ex of 3 years came home and ended our relationship. I was blindsided. I had uprooted my life to move in with him, sold our newly renovated home, and left my job 6 months earlier. I found myself at 29 years old, single, unemployed, and moving home to my parents in the midst of a global pandemic. As devastating as it initially was, once removed from the situation, I was able to acknowledge that I'd stayed in a relationship that didn't serve me for far too long, out of fear of being alone and having to start over at an age that I thought I should be settled down by. I'd given up my own dreams and independence to help someone else chase theirs. Ladies, don't ever do that. The right person won't make you choose. Amen, sister. Also, don't move unless you have a ring on your finger. Flash forward to the summer of 2022. After putting in the work to rebuild my life and my independence, I was finally in the place to date again. After dinner with a few girlfriends, we decided to pop into a nearby bar for one more drink. As I walked to the bathroom, someone along the way asked, "Hey, where are you going?" If I'm being honest, if not for his accent, I likely would have ignored him and continued on my way. But this one got my attention. "To the bathroom," I said with a bit of an attitude. To which he responded, "Hurry back now. I'll do it with an accent, okay? Hurry back now. I'll be waiting for you." That was terrible. As we got to talking that night and the weeks after as we continued to hang out, we realized our paths had likely crossed before. We lived on the same block 2 years earlier and went to the same gym almost daily. And yet, we never met until that night, at a point in both of our lives when we were both ready for it. In my previous relationship, my gut always told me I was settling and that something wasn't right. But this time around, my gut told me from the very beginning that something was different about this one. Amongst many other things, he communicated with me, he prioritized making time for us, and he allowed me to be exactly who I am. We got engaged in August and bought a house this fall. I am so excited to continue building a life together. He's the kind of partner I know will be a great dad and teammate in life. At the very core of our relationship, we are truly best friends. It is the foundation that has made me so confident that we can and will withstand all the ups and downs in life. If I could give a bit of advice for those stuck in an unhappy relationship or still waiting to find the one, it would be not to settle for less than you deserve. Ignore the timelines in your head. Build a life of your own that you love. The right person will fit seamlessly into it. I promise that person will be even better than you could have ever imagined. It's so true. This stuff always gives me the chills all over my body, but it's so true. Anytime I ever had a feeling that maybe I was settling or questioned anything, it was wrong for me. When Steven came into my life, I never had that feeling. I knew from the minute we went on our first date, from the minute I saw him on the dance floor, that if I were to be with this person, I wouldn't be settling. You know when you meet someone who's on your same level, who has your same worth, and you have to work to have that worth for yourself. And I think that's another reason why meeting at this, age in 30, like 29, 30 plus is so much more, just there's so much more to offer you when it comes to finding a partner who, as this woman articulated, really fits into your life. And I love that. And I love all the advice that people are giving. I think it's so great. Okay, on to the next. Hi, Lindsay. These stories have been so helpful to me, and I'm so glad that I now get to contribute my own. For the past 5 years, I've been extremely single. Before then, there were a handful of 6 month relationships in my 20s that never felt right for a variety of reasons. For the last 5 years, I've been on the apps, going to a couple events here and there, but haven't met a single guy that I felt any kind of connection with. I was starting to think there was something wrong with me, or maybe it was time to move out of New York City since my person clearly wasn't here. I was starting to come to terms with the fact that I may not ever find him, never have children, and just be the fun aunt. Even though my hope was waning, I simply refused to settle. Finally, the universe aligned, and about a month before my 36th birthday, I matched on Hinge with a guy who would turn out to be the love of my life. It wasn't until we both Googled each other before our first date that we realized we went to elementary school together. Invisible string theory is no joke. It was so serendipitous, it felt like fate. From the first date, I felt the chemistry and connection I've been looking for. During my single years, I made a list of qualities I was looking for in a partner, and he matched the list to a T. We've only been together 5 months at the time of me writing this, but I've never been so sure of anything in my life that he's the one. We talk about our future constantly, and the communication is unlike anything I've experienced in past relationships. I never knew I could find someone who was so perfect for me and I for him. I'm so grateful that we found each other again at the perfect time. Proud of myself for hanging in and refusing to settle for anything less than what I deserved. What is the theme here, people? We're not settling. I love it. Okay, on to the next one. Hi. After many years of dating the wrong men, situationships, friends with benefits, and endless swiping, I met my now fiance at the age of 40. I had pretty much resigned to the fact that maybe I just wasn't meant to be with someone after taking a long hiatus from dating. Um, and after taking a long hiatus from dating, I decided to get back out there. He was the first date I went on in around 9 months. And from day one, I remember thinking, oh, this is what it means to be treated well. He always communicated proactively, was open with his feelings, even when it took me longer to get there, and planned fun and thoughtful dates. Around 8 months after our first date, we moved in together, and then 6 months later, we got engaged. I think back to all the guys I dated previously, and it's so clear to me now that they weren't right. For so long, I was focused on do they like me? And with Nick, my fiance, he gave me the time and space to really figure out how I felt and what I wanted. I'm so grateful that I never settled along the way. I'm now 42, he's 38, and we're getting married next fall. I love that. It's amazing. Okay. Oh, okay. This is an update from a previous version of this episode with the surfer dude nurse. If you know, you know. If not, go back and listen and then listen to this. Hey, Linz, have I got a happy turn of events for you? You might remember me from your first episode in April of last year. Why he should like you more than you like him. I'm the girl who had my meet cute thanks to my dog jumping into the car of my now ex, the blue eyed surfer nurse. That was, I can honestly say, one of my most favorite relationships. But sadly, at the end of that summer, we ultimately decided that our life goals had evolved. I still wanted kids while he no longer did. So if the happiness almost made my heart burst, the heartbreak just about finished the job. Oh, I'm sorry. Fast forward to December 2023. I turned 39 a few days before Christmas. And while I was incredibly happy to be surrounded by my huge family that came to visit for the holidays, my brain just wouldn't stop focusing on the ugly thoughts of, holy shit, you're almost 40. I guess you're just going to have to be the fun aunt who always has gum and the single girl stories for family dinners. Gum is so niche. I had rejoined Hinge and around Halloween had gone on a few dates, but all of them just made my eyes roll. Thankfully, this ridiculously handsome European guy had matched with me the same week and was keeping me company via messages during all the holiday festivities. He was 43, recently divorced, and had just moved to the US to be closer to his son. He was a bit bummed himself because it was his first Christmas living apart from little man. By Christmas night, we were both in need of a stiff drink. I bowed out of the family leftovers dinner the next day, and I met Marco at an Irish dive bar. I feel embarrassed to say that I did not stick to the rule of 2 drinks max and accidentally got a smidge shit faced, as did he. The holidays. We spent 7 hours sitting at the bar talking about life, how neither of us are from here. He's from Croatia, I'm from Mexico, and how we both miss home. We both lamented about how our lives didn't turn out the way we envisioned and admitted that we were both struck with the fact that we were as old as our parents were when they had shit figured out. And now, and how now we're the me almost 40 somethings that have to start all over. Then he said, "What if this is the way it's supposed to be? And we're where we are right now because we get to start over together." Whew. Damn, that's hot. Girl, fuck the age related expectations and narratives. We live together now. I just turned 40 and he celebrated me and the ground that I walk on. It's been a year this week. This is it, and we both know it. It's not about having someone just to have company. It's not about not wanting to be alone. It really is all about having all of these shitty things that have happened to us in order to bring us to this country, this city, and that app at the right time so that we could find each other. We've become a little family with little man, my dad, and all of my family. We've had appointments with fertility specialists to go about trying for our own little one. And I already to him I think there's something missing here, but I already to him home. Oh, brought him home is what she meant to say, to Mexico City to meet my family. And next summer, we're going to Croatia so I can meet his. I'm learning Croatian while he's learning Spanish. As I sit here writing this, Marco, my family, little man, and my nephew are playing with Legos in my living room on the floor and talking about new traditions we're starting for the rest of our Christmases. It's like Taylor says, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. I'm in love. Oh my God, I'm crying. I'm in love. I'm 40, and I'm proof that the goddamn best come to those who wait. Whew. You had to bring Taylor into this. Okay. That was really good. You love that girl. She's my girl. Hi. I wanted to share a funny story about how me and my now fiance met. We originally met on Bumble and had our first date September 2016. I was 27 and he was about to turn 26. We had a great first date, but I wasn't ready to date seriously. After some back and forth texting, it fizzled. Then the 2016 election happened. I went into a downward spiral along with much of the world, and I put dating on the back burner for a while. We matched again. We matched on Bumble again a year or two later, but because I was mindlessly swiping on the apps, nothing materialized. The summer of COVID, I realized just how much I was craving a relationship versus the situationships I had found myself in. After kissing and dumping many frogs, Zach, oh, love his name. Zach and I matched again on Bumble in the summer of 2022. That's when I said to myself, maybe the universe knows something I don't. I started out with a fun, flirty message, something along the lines of, hey, maybe third time's a charm. But he wasn't so sure he believed it, and I got a response of, I'll believe it when I see it. After many weeks of making plans and rescheduling, I still wasn't sure I was ready. We finally went out on our second first date in October 2022. I was 33 and Zach was turning 31. And the rest is history. We got engaged in September 2023 and are getting married this March. Sometimes the universe knows better and you have to just lean into it. Love that. Trust the universe. And also don't discard people you've matched with before. Okay. I was 34 and my husband was 35 when we met in September of 2020 during the pandemic. Mutual friends of our moms caught wind we were both single and set us up. My husband is divorced and we always say we each needed our to live our lives till we were ready for each other, which didn't happen till later. I was a single New York City girl on the dating apps, focused on career and friends and travel. I'm so glad I never settled for what I once thought didn't exist because 2 years after dating, we got engaged when I was 36. And at 38, I'm married with a 1.5-year-old, living the most amazing life with the best husband in the world. Our values, morals, idea of fun, finances align perfectly. And I can't imagine having that with someone I met when I was younger. I love that. Okay. Water break. And we're back. Hi. After years of dating and trying to find my person, I started dating someone who I thought was great on paper, treated me well, surprised me with thoughtful gifts, showed and told me how much he cared about me. But something deep down didn't feel right. Thinking into the future, it started to give me anxiety instead of excitement. I started to realize we were actually pretty opposite. I knew he wasn't my forever, so I started to end things and start. So I decided to end things and start over at 31. It gave me anxiety as I dreaded going back to the dating apps and wondered if I was just overthinking things and was making a mistake. But the second I pulled the trigger and we broke up, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Suddenly, after a week or two passed, I started to feel a sense of excitement and leaned into that, working hard every day to shift my mindset and truly practice gratitude and positivity. I wrote out exactly what I wanted in a future partner, everything down to him having a dog, height, job, values, family, hobbies, etc. I then released. I didn't want to waste any more time feeling down and would stay curious and excited for meeting this person someday. 4 months later, I booked a fun night out with my closest girlfriends. Later in the night, we stopped by a local spot, and while we were hanging at the bar, I noticed this guy waiting behind us trying to grab a drink. Something about him immediately caught my eye, and I felt so drawn to him. I knew I had to talk to him. I came to learn he also had recently gotten out of a relationship that wasn't serving him, and basically everything I wrote out for my future partner was him. And long story short, we chatted for hours at the bar, spent the rest of the night together, and I swear we fell in love that moment. Manifestation is real. Fast forward to 2 years later, we just got married and are expecting our first child in 2025. I think back all the time about that decision I made to end my past relationship and how unhappy I would be if I didn't. The end of one relationship brought me to the happiest part of my life now, a husband that's perfect for me, and that decision opened doors to so many amazing things to come. It's never too late to start over and never give up hope. Okay, I love that so much. And this is a very big teaching lesson. Guys, I'm going to read this one more time. She was dating someone who treated her well, great on paper, surprised her with thoughtful gifts, showed and told her how much she cared about him, how much he cared about her, but something wasn't right. If something isn't right, if something doesn't feel right in your relationship, it doesn't matter how well they treat you. It doesn't matter how good they are on paper. It doesn't matter how nice of a person they are. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. And it's okay to break up with that person, even if your single friend is like, how could you ever do that? I would never do that. I would be so lucky to have a person like your partner. Like, it's really hard out there. You might never find the person. It doesn't, or your married friends are like, he's great. You're throwing away something good. My husband and I fight all the time. It sometimes doesn't feel right with my husband, whatever. If it doesn't feel right, ignore the noise and listen to yourself and listen to your gut. I'm telling you, it's okay to break up with someone who's nice. That doesn't mean that they're your person. Just because they treat you well doesn't mean you have to marry them and have kids with them. You have to feel something so much more than just they're nice and I should like them. Like, if you're learning anything from this episode, please take away that. Hi, submitting for meeting your person after 30. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to like rearrange here. Okay, that's nice. I was in a long-term relationship from 20 to 28. I really thought this was my person. I had my 5-year plan ready. He was doing his MBA. We were moving, getting engaged, babies, and the whole thing. Little did I know, he was not feeling the same. And out of one tiny fight, he decided to break up with me. I felt like someone had pushed me down a hill and completely lost, primarily because I had not prioritized me in that relationship. My only care was that he was thriving, and I constantly put myself second. Big mistake and do not recommend. I quickly jumped to another relationship because I was not used to being alone, but that fizzled out quickly. So here I was, 29, about to turn 30 and single. Not the 5-year plan I had in mind. Then COVID happened. My 30th birthday was March 20th, 2020. And that's a crazy birthday to have in that case. And I spent it in a lockdown with my parents. Sure, I was going to be single with my parents. Sure, I was going to be single forever. I mean, a pandemic, but life has a way with things, and during that year-ish before meeting my husband, I learned who I was without someone else. I learned to love me and prioritize me. I bought my house, I got promoted, and I froze my eggs. For the first time, I was okay if I didn't meet anyone. And one swipe Bumble on a random day turned into a date where I went in with no expectations, turned into my husband. We met at 31 and everything just flowed. We have the same values, are completely aligned with what we want in life, and the relationship was easy. There were no doubts, and 1.5 years later, he proposed. We just celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary, and I could not be happier. My advice is love yourself first and trust that there is someone out there for you. It's really cute and really true. Hi there, so excited to share our story. I, 33, female, met my boyfriend, 33 male, 3 years ago at an apartment tour on the Upper East Side. I had been living in the neighborhood for about a year, and he was looking for his first solo place. Better late than never. Usually, New York City apartment tours in July have lines around the block, but this one, early on a Saturday morning, was just the two of us. A great sign from the universe right off the bat. This is like the best meet cute ever. We chatted while waiting for the broker to arrive. Toured the apartment together. I asked him out for a coffee, and we've been together ever since. I had no intention of finding my person that day. I would have worn makeup and a cuter outfit if that were the plan. So, truly a case of the it'll come when you least expect it. And anything can be a dating app if you try hard enough. Shout out to Street Easy. I love that. So cute. Hi, I met my fiance at 31 years old at our best friend's wedding. We were the only two single ones in the bridal party and both signed their marriage license. We had known each other while our friends were dating, but the timing didn't work out due to past relationships. A friend at the rehearsal dinner told each of us we should talk to each other, and then at the wedding we did. Our first date was the following Thursday, and I brought him to my brother's wedding 3 months later. The rest was history. We're getting married in June. So cute. Another like ideal meet cute. Okay. Hi. Four highs. Okay, this may get lengthy but I listened to your podcast for years, and I changed my mindset of meeting someone after 30, and I met someone in May 2023. Yes, queen. It was great and fun, and we knew of each other and blah blah blah, but it didn't work out. He was a secret alcoholic, and I figured it out pretty quickly, but I was the one who was blindsided and dumped. It was the saddest and hurt have ever was. I ever was. I was 34 and scared and alone and listened to you and a few others' podcasts to get through this deep pain. The reason I'm sharing this story is to tell you the story of how I met my person now. My ex best friend's wife reached, hold on, my ex's best friend's wife. So not my ex best friend, her ex's best friend's wife, the best friend of her ex's wife. Okay, you get it. Reached out to me about getting together. It had been 5 to 6 months after the breakup, so it was a perfect time just to catch up and chat. I received a lot of validation of why we didn't work out, and that was good to hear. Months after this, we remained friends and we planned a happy hour. She had to cancel because her dog ran away. He was found, thank God. So we rescheduled and she invited me to a happy hour with her college besties. If we wouldn't have canceled the prior happy hour and I didn't meet her college friends, I would never have met my guy. I met her friends and they were like, why don't we set her up with Andy? And we were set up on a date. I was over dating and honestly didn't want to go because every date I was going on, mostly dating apps, I was just overwhelmed and had been going on dates left and right. We met up on Memorial Day and talked for 3 hours and it just kind of clicked. I hadn't even looked him up before the date, so it was a nice blind date surprise. And he had decided to go sober a year prior just to take care of himself and focus on better things in life. So going from an alcoholic to meeting someone who doesn't drink was a huge plus for me. From the first date on Memorial Day to now. So, what I'm saying and want to say to all girls who are 35 and scared and afraid of being alone, everything does happen for a reason. And I turned my mindset to being more positive and believing my time was coming. I wouldn't have met Andy if it wasn't for dating my ex. I wouldn't have met Andy if it wasn't for reconnecting with his best friend's wife. I wouldn't have met Andy if she hadn't canceled for the first happy hour. And I wouldn't have met Andy if it wasn't for the second happy hour and meeting her college friends where they all decided to set me up. Give things a chance and go out and try not to say no. You never know what will happen. He treats me well, he respects me, supports me, loves me for who I am, and I've never had this before. I own a women's clothing bouquet, and it was hard finding men who weren't intimidated or men who couldn't handle a strong woman. There are men out there, and I know the dating apps are not great, and the dating groups are even worse. Dating groups. Oh, maybe like the Facebook groups. But keep bugging your friends for setups and kick your single men's asses into gear so you can set them up with great girls because I do believe there are a lot of men who aren't working on themselves like us women do. Not all though. Anyways, I love your podcast and can always share more of my story, but thought I'd send a little something in. Okay, I love this. I'm going to shout out her boutique. It's called Four Sisters. I hope she wanted me to do that. And I also think that it's really important. A lot of people are like, I need to cut everyone out of my life after a breakup. I never unfollowed my ex's best friends, girlfriends, and wives. Like those were my girls. Like those were the girls that I really liked and still like. They have nothing to do with me and my ex not working out or being a match. And I still will DM with them and be like, oh my God, like your baby is so cute. And they'll be like, your baby is so cute. And if they wanted to get coffee, I would. And obviously I'm married now, but had I been single, I would also have gotten coffee with them and I would have wanted updates on their life and maybe they would have had someone for me. So I just really believe in not burning bridges unless someone's been really fucked up to you or unless you're really trying to not think about that ex. But keep those connections because just because you break up with a person doesn't mean you have to break up with the wonderful people that you might have met through that person, if you can handle it, of course. Okay. Wow, we have a few left, so we got to get through them before I get kicked out of the studio. Hey, Lindsay, here's my story. I met my husband on Hinge at 30, 1 year after leaving a 6 year relationship that I was sure would lead to marriage. I came across my husband's Hinge profile while feeling super low, following a short term dating situation that didn't work out. And I almost passed over his profile. Truthfully, while his profile was pretty mid, I couldn't find a valid reason to exit out and move on. See, that's what I'm saying, girls. I sent him a message relating to his prompt about audiobooks. We started chatting, and he pursued me in a respectful, persistent way that stood out from the other guys I was dating and talking to. He was also upfront about wanting to be married one day. Hello, cab light theory, she says. He proposed 18 months after we first matched, and we got married in September. I'm now 32, and he's 35. I love this pod idea. It is never too late. I love that. Hold on, I need water. Okay. Hi, Lindsay. Happy Hanukkah to you and your family. I saw your post about meeting after 30 and wanted to share our story with you. Sorry if it's too long. I matched with my now husband in October of 2022 on Hinge. At the time, I was 35 and he was 36. We had both just moved to South Florida within a couple months of each other to be closer to our families. The background on me is I had been single and dating for 3 years very unsuccessfully, and after dating someone who love bombed and ghosted me, I knew something had to change. I found We Met at Acme randomly and started listening religiously and took the next 6 months to work on myself before getting back into the dating world. Your podcast and rules absolutely changed the way I was going about dating and my self-worth. Oh, that makes me so happy. Back to our story. We matched in October, met 3 weeks later in early November, and kissed on our first date. Beginning dating during the holidays with our travel schedules was stressful to navigate, and it's crazy to think I actually used to get anxious over my husband. We became official in January after we had a serious talk about what we both wanted out of the future to make sure we were on the same page. He introduced me to his parents later that month, and he said, I love you in March. We got engaged in September and were married this September in Palm Beach. Oh my God, same. When we were on our mini moon, we spent our last night in New York City and walked by Acme, and it felt like such a sign, a full circle moment. To wrap this up, I think it's important to note that he was the first nice guy I gave the time of day to, and is the most loving, helpful, and thoughtful person I've ever met. Had I met him earlier in life, I don't think I would have been ready for him or to accept his love. We have a blast together and are best friends, and he's also the best dog dad to my dog that I brought into the relationship. Now we are married at 37 and 38, and the best is yet to come. Thank you for being part of my journey to him. I love that. And she sent pictures. Okay, for the YouTube watchers, I'm showing the pictures. Oh my God, they're so cute. So cute. I'm obsessed. Okay. Wait, there's another picture, but it's not downloading. But anyway, adorable and love your dress. You guys are gorgeous. Okay. The best things truly come to those who wait, and I am impatient, the actual worst at waiting. I met my person when I was 29 years old, so I know this doesn't technically count, but I feel like our story really speaks at what you're getting at here. I think that counts. I met Steven at 29. So the story starts in 2020. I had just lost my job, got dumped 2 weeks later, then my job resumed and was more challenging than ever. I'm a speech therapist, and we switched to fully remote for the pandemic. And I was feeling more alone than I'd ever felt, even more alone than after I ended an engagement to my high school sweetheart after we'd been together for 7 years. It just wasn't right for so many reasons, but that pain definitely carried through as I tried to date for several years and nothing really stuck. So it's 2020, Christmas time. I'm single, thankfully home with my family for Christmas after working back in person since the fall. I try a virtual date and I'm convinced I need to give up on dating for now. But the next morning, I woke up and thought, well, let me swipe through Hinge one more time. Lo and behold, after a minute or two, I see a face I recognize. It's a guy I knew from college, and I remember him being just the absolute sweetest guy. I messaged him and hoped he'd remember me. He did, and messaged back right away. We set a date for after the new year, and I remember going into the date thinking that if there wasn't a spark, I could really see myself being friends with him. Turns out there was a spark, and I saw myself being friends with him. Fast forward to Christmas time, 2024, and we are celebrating our first holiday season as a married couple. We got married this past April. I couldn't feel luckier to have found my husband at the time when I did. I was ready and he was ready. Now we're in the midst of the happiest thing we've both ever had. Your podcast has helped me so much through our dating engagement and new marriage. Thank you for making a space for these topics in a way that's down to earth and real and relatable. Ugh, I love you. I'm so happy for you. Okay. I met my now husband when I was 35. I felt so hopeless and lonely and sad while I watched all my friends move forward in life. Getting married and having babies, it was the hardest year of my life. Hardest years of my life. In May 2023, I went on a Hinge date with absolutely no expectations and left feeling like it was a pretty good date. After our third date, I knew there was something so special, and already I was feeling something I'd never felt before. After 1 month, we said, I love you. We've moved in together at 4 months, got engaged at 7 months, and got married a year to the date after we met. We had our baby on January 18th, 2024. Oh my God, that's Zachary's birthday. I'm dying. What? I don't know if she knows this, but like that's my son's birthday too. Oh my God, we have to introduce them. My relationship and happiness is more than I ever could have imagined. My partner is absolutely perfect for me, and I truly think all the time that all the sadness and hard times I went through were worth it to give me the person I was looking for. My husband, we met when he was 40, feels the exact same way. We are truly each other's dream, and our love is so special, healthy, and more than both of us could have ever asked for. When you meet your person older, you know what you're looking for, and you are able to recognize that this feels different. While dating each other, everything was so easy and straightforward and wonderful. Although we both always say we wish we had met sooner, there is value in meeting your person when you're older because you can truly embody the when you know you know. And for sure, the best relationship came because I waited. It's really cute. Oh, and she says she meant May 2022, but whatever, you got the gist. Hi there. I met my fiance at 33. We met at work, and I'll tell you my romanticized version of it. He's from Italy, and I'm from the US. He was over in Florida working on a boat with one of my friends as the captain. I was dating another Italian guy, apparently of a type, and my friend had a birthday party for one of his kids. I went alone, he went alone, and there was one other person there that worked on boats who was alone. Most of the people at the party were parents and couples, so the three of us hung out together. And I told him I was dating an Italian guy just to make conversation, but he kind of looked at me like I was dumb. At the time, I just thought, okay, he thinks I'm an idiot. Now I know that his English wasn't great at the time and he was trying to figure out what I was saying. Cut to a few months later, the guy I'm seeing totally blindsided me, taking another girl on a trip to Italy for a wedding while I was working, also on a boat in the Bahamas, and I found out on Instagram. So I was drowning my sorrows and went for a walk down by the beach. Walking along, I see him boom running past on a run, like with a light shining on him. And I was like, oh, hey, there's that guy. I said nothing and he was already gone. Then I decided I wanted to manifest a new job that would give me the opportunity to stay in one place so I could get an apartment and start dating for real. But I had to find a job that would pay me. I decided 7K a month so that I could afford an apartment in Fort Lauderdale. A few weeks later, my friend, the captain of the boat where Italian guy number two works, called me and said, hey, I know you like your job, but we're looking for a stewardess. Are you interested? Boat never left Fort Lauderdale except for a few weeks in the Bahamas, so the pay was 7K. I said, hell yes. So I started working on board, and Dami works there, but the sparks were dormant. We were just coworkers. Another coworker and I were talking about dating and how to manifest what you want. She said, you have to make a list about everything you want in a partner, but you have to be so specific because she said she had manifested her guy in the past, but she wasn't specific enough and he wasn't emotionally available. So after having dated in adulthood properly for the last 5 or so years, I had dated enough to know what I did and didn't want. What I wanted to feel was what I never wanted to feel again. Put the list down and continued to date, mostly through Hinge. And from this point, I literally could not put up with the negative feelings that I had just experienced with past relationships and flings. So I decided if it felt familiar in a negative way, then I needed to cut the energy source, cut the tie, explain if I felt like it, ghosting if needed, and literally not feeling bad about it. It started to feel more and more free and clear the more I shut the door on this negative feeling. It's not about them, it's about me. And then I started to see Dami. He was kind, he was quiet, he was a man, he felt safe, he felt like breathing to be with, and it was like an ah moment. So I slept on the crush for a little while. I could tell he felt it too. We had had conversations and he had asked me to go for a run. But I already had plans, so I said I couldn't. And then we were on a trip for a few weeks in the Bahamas. We work in small quarters, so it's not difficult to walk by someone and touch their shoulder when you pass by. So I did that for a few days, and that was all he needed to get the hint. We kissed one night when the trip was over and the crew was hanging out. And when we got home, we had our first date. It clicked and it's never unclicked. Super grateful for that coworker that told me about the list and all the guys I dated before that showed me what I didn't want. He supports me and loves me properly. Also, I didn't know it when I first started crushing on him, but he's playful and silly. He is someone that I can look up to. He is someone that wants and can support me, and so many other things that were on the list. Okay, one other thing I did before I realized it was him. World's first podcast had an episode with the Feng Shui guy on it, a hilarious episode if you haven't heard it yet. And he said to put a green pitcher of purple flowers in X corner of my apartment to bring up your charisma and to get some men in your life. I didn't know if it's a coincidence or powerful, but it's worth mentioning. We just got engaged and now live in Italy together, working on a new boat. Happily ever after. Love that for you. Oh, she said David Cho was the Feng Shui guy, by the way. Gotta give credit where credit's due. One more thing the story is my romanticized version because I left out the difficult parts of changing your patterns. He is a securely attached person, and I am an anxiously attached person without the drama without the drama of the anxious avoidant early on, I was creating my own drama in our relationship. I had to let him teach me how to be secure. I had to stop getting in my own way and learn how to just enjoy our time together. I had to grieve the high intensity romances and come to terms with contentment and letting someone else guide me to a healthier, more loving space. Not easy, but so worth it. We can do it, gals and guys. I love that. Okay, there's three more. Do we have time, Wolf? Okay. Oh my God, I'm so parched. Okay, these are short, I think. I, female 30, was sitting outside at a bar working on my laptop on a Thursday afternoon. A cute guy, 34, asked if he could sit at my table. I said yes. He bought me a drink, we started talking, and he asked me out. We got engaged 10 months later and married 7 months after that. I love that. I want more details, but whatever, I'll take it. Okay. When I was 29, I broke up with my boyfriend of 6 years. We were living together and he was going to propose. He was going to propose soon, but he was awful. A Zach Bryan type. Ooh, I need to know more about that Zach Bryan thing. I finally got out of what I feel fortunate. I finally got out, which I feel very fortunate for. Fast forward 3 months later, it's my 30th birthday, and my sister and her husband set me up with a cute boy. We had a blast on my birthday. He ended up meeting us out, and I did go home with him, but nothing really happened. The next day, I figured out he was much younger than me, so I kind of wrote him off, but he pursued me. He flew to my city and got a hotel for our first date. The hotel was for him, not us. We ended up spending the whole weekend together, and the rest is history. I didn't follow any of the rules. I'm sorry, Linz, but it's fine because he's younger. It's different, like much younger. But this man is more respectful, kind, hardworking than any guy I've ever met and loves the hell out of me. We've been together now for about 2.5 years. And a few weeks ago, he got down on one knee and we're getting married next fall. I was with the wrong guy for so long and had so much baggage from that last relationship that it never hindered him. Um, for anyone too afraid to leave, it's worth it. Find a support system and get out. Don't freaking settle. Oh, and by the way, he's 6 years younger. I have never paid for a date or really anything ever. If he wanted to, he would across the board. I feel so incredibly blessed. This song to the men that love women after heartbreak plays in my head over and over again. To the men that love women after heartbreak, to the tears they catch but didn't make them fall, to the strong and sturdy shoulders helping her get older, and the ones that get forever after all. It's really cute. Chills again. Okay, last one. I was dragged out of the house by friends because I recently had gotten a Soho House membership, but I didn't want to leave my couch. We grabbed dinner and then went there for a drink. I saw a cute guy and thought, what the hell? I interrupted a combo he was in with about 4 to 5 other guys. I stuck out my hand and said, "Hi, I'm Hillary." I later learned that he didn't go out often anymore either, and that his friends had baited him out with seeing a Batman movie in theaters that night, and then they stopped there to get drinks because one guy was a member. There's a bit more to the story that I found out on our first date, related to both our parents' cancers being a big part of the reason that we had become homebodies and recluses and had to be bribed off of our respective couches, which really felt like a lesson in pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and doing the hard things anyway. I love that. What an episode. Guys, I loved this one. I love your stories. They really they really get me. Especially my surfer, the girl who dated the surfer who's now with the guy, you know. You know where I'm going with it, who's with Marco. Love her. But honestly, all of these stories are so amazing and these episodes just we got to do like a million of them. We're never going to stop this series because it is so feel good and it's truly how it should be. Like I hate all of the people who come on here on social media, on TikTok, this that, telling you that you should settle basically. Without saying those words, they are saying there doesn't need to be a spark. It doesn't have to be this. They don't have to, you don't have to be attracted to them, this and that. Guess what? You should get everything that you want. And do not ever let anyone tell you that you can't. And don't listen to them because they're wrong. Listen to wemetatacme and follow the rules. Or don't follow the rules, but be confident when dating and doing it. Love this. Love you guys. Thank you for listening or watching and excited for the next.